Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. We're talking pastures today and a unique way to spray for weeds and other invasive plants thanks to an inventive approach. SUNUP's Dave Deacon explains.
We've always had a challenge here at the North Range because you've got large wide open areas like this, and then you've got draws and areas that are being encroached with brush. We've got sumac and plums, and we've got blackberries, and then this time of year what we're trying to control or really work hard on is our Sericea lespedeza.
There is only so much space on this land for plants. Brush like this and common weeds can crowd out grassy forage plants needed to feed cattle.
They utilize nutrients, they utilize sunlight, they shade out grass, they utilize water, and eventually you wind up with your carrying capacity. The average carrying capacity in this area of the state on a strictly native grass pasture might be 8 or 10 acres per cow year-round with very little hay. If you ignore those invasive species and the brush encroachment and so on, eventually you'll wind up with half and half, 15, 20, 25 acres per cow.
For many years, pasture sprayers have been used to spray broad mists of chemical into the air, killing most of the weeds that they touch. Oklahoma State agricultural engineer Randy Taylor has designed a rig that incorporates designs that he uses in weed control for crops.
A lot of times in our pastures, we want to go straight to a boomless type sprayer. And the reason we do that's obvious is like there's areas that booms just don't work very well. But if those are a small percentage of the pasture, then we've selected a sprayer based on our least common denominator.
Right.
We're saying, hey, for the bad condition, I'm gonna pick my sprayer, and now for all the good conditions, I'm not gonna do as good. And so, because there's no question that a boom will give you better coverage and better herbicide efficacy than a boomless sprayer. It's just gonna be less prone to drift. But there's areas that booms just flat don't work. And so what we've kind of set up here with this sprayer is that we've got a choice. We can go, to the boomless nozzles in areas where we're a lot rougher and aren't able to get the booms out, or in the wide open areas of the pasture where we're a little smoother and we can get the booms folded out. We're going to get much better coverage with our herbicides. And also have less opportunity for that herbicide to drift.
Okay, let's talk about the economics of this. Is it effective to go ahead and do the boom on something like this?
Well, the booms are going to be a little bit more expensive,
right.
But then again, when you're coming back and you're looking at some of the costs of our herbicides for our pastures, if I'm going to be spending $15, $18, $20 an acre for herbicides, then I want to get everything out of that I can.
Right.
And so certainly we will get better coverage on plants with a boom than we will with a boomless sprayer. And again, they're going to be when we get that little bit of a breeze, it doesn't take much. When I've got running a boomless, it distorts the pattern quite a bit, and so we're going to start to see some skips and some stuff like that. So, I think there's some opportunities. There's certainly the boom is again going to cost more money, but we're running, a tank, a pump,
right.
All that we've got to have anyway.
Right.
So really we're just talking the difference between a fold-up boom and going without.
Now, are there technologies to help with application as far as like in a crop situation, you can stay on a row and you can follow that row, but you really don't have that out here.
No, and it's really hard to see where you've been when you look at a pasture and you say you're spraying 40 feet wide,
right.
And then you look at, I got to look over here 40 feet to see my wheel tracks and try to drive parallel to those. It's kind of challenging. So, we've set up, at least on the tractor here, we've got a little GPS guidance system, kind of an entry-level system, anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 depending on which brand you look at, and so it's certainly going to help us to stay on the track that we want to be on,
right.
and get our swath width as close as possible on what we want to try to do. And so it really helps quite a bit with the ability to map where we've been as well. So now I can zoom out and I see what part of my field have I sprayed and what part of my pasture still needs to be sprayed.
Another twist on this system, it's mounted on a 3-point hitch rather than a trailer.
Now, there's some drawbacks to that setup because it's a smaller tank and you're going to have to fill up more often. But also, one of the wonderful things about it in this strictly pasture situation is that we can raise and lower that boom. We can raise it to about 5 feet right now. We may fix that so we can raise it even higher at times, but right now 5 feet, and get it all the way down to 2 or 3 feet. You know, Dr. Taylor suggests about 20 inches from your target, and so if you've got a 5-foot tall target, you know, a sprayer that's 3 feet tall doesn't help.
So with the possibility of a 7-foot tall spraying mount, weeds and brush in Oklahoma are on notice.
Today, the National Weather Center in Norman is quiet. Few people are in the hallways or outside. The outside lawn and paved circle empty. But on November 1st, all of that changes. Saturday, November 1st is the National Weather Festival. Thousands of folks who love weather information and hundreds of professionals who forecast weather, report on weather, research weather, and teach about weather will come together for this annual event. Helicopters from the local Oklahoma City TV stations, educational opportunities for all ages, entertainment, food, and weather experts make the National Weather Festival a fun, exciting, informative event. Mark your calendar for Saturday, November 1st to be at the National Weather Festival at the National Weather Center on the corner of Highway 9 and Jenkins Avenue in Norman. Events begin at 10 in the morning and end at 2 in the afternoon. As part of this event, the Oklahoma Mesonet will celebrate its 20th anniversary with special exhibits, displays by Mesonet users, t-shirts, cookies, and hot cocoa. 20 years of Mesonet, 20 years of Oklahoma weather data. Folks are celebrating the rain that went through the state last weekend. A rainfall map from Thursday, October 9th through Monday evening has most of the state colored green with 1 inch or more of rain. Bright dark green areas received 2.5 or more inches of rain. Yellow areas had over 4 inches of rain. Dark orange areas came in at 6 or more inches. Folks in the west and the blue areas received less than 1 inch. Hollis in the southwest only had 21 hundredths, while Nowata in the northeast recorded 7 8/100 inches of rain. That rain has really added to our soil moisture in parts of Oklahoma. Our map showing the change in soil moisture measured as fractional water index from October 7th to the 14th at the 10-inch depth has most of Oklahoma colored green, an increase in soil moisture. The gray-brown areas indicate no change at the 10-inch depth. Fractional water index is a point measurement of soil moisture at set depths. The scale goes from 0 bone dry to 1 saturated. At 4 inches, only 2 areas in the state, Jackson and Harmon counties in the southwest and Buffalo in the north, have numbers near 0, indicating dry soils. The vast majority of Mesonet sites across the state had high soil moisture, close to 1, the green-colored areas at the 4-inch depth. Dropping deeper to 10 inches, the amount of area colored green with good soil moisture shrinks in western Oklahoma with more dry brown colored areas. Going even deeper to 24 inches, the areas colored brown indicating dry soils expand significantly. That's why one good rain does not end a drought. It takes a number of good heavy rains to soak down into deeper soil levels. What our latest rain did was provide critically needed moisture for winter wheat, canola, and pastures. I'm Al Sutherland. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Mesonet Weather Report, and I hope to see you at the National Weather Festival on Saturday, November 1st in Norman.
Joining us now is Kim Anderson, our crop marketing specialist. And Kim, let's dive right in with corn and wheat prices, starting with wheat.
When you're looking at wheat, we've had a 40 to 45 cent price increase from the bottom of wheat. You look at that December contract on KC wheat, it's challenging that $6 level. Remember when it was down at 5.50, we said if it stays there that we may challenge the 6. We got the 6. If we break 6, we'll go to 6.20. And I think a good reason of that is last week's WASDE report. They lowered the ending stocks for wheat from 698 million bushels to 654 million, and I think that's significant.
Let's take a closer look at corn. What kind of trends are you seeing there?
Well, we've had a little rally in corn, not near as big as wheat, but any higher prices are higher prices. Analysts are probably equally divided whether we've made the bottom on corn. Some of them think we're going to go on down lower. Others think that we've made the bottom, we've had a little rally. We're probably going to waddle around and just see what goes on there.
And what do you think in the market will determine whether this goes up or down now?
Well, the market's uncertain of how much corn we've got out there. We talked about the corn harvest is behind schedule. I'm concerned about that. Some analysts say that's no big deal. They're going to get that crop in. The USDA estimate was 171.7 bushels per acre record, They raised that to 174.2 this last report. Some analysts think it's closer to 176 and that the USDA will go to that in November. Ending stocks went higher on this last report. The harvested acres went down from 83.8 million to 83.1. So, it's what's going to determine whether we go up or down is, do we have higher bushels per acre with the same amount of harvested acres, or does harvested acres go down and no change in the yields, and then prices may edge on up a little bit on corn.
Now, another piece of the pie, of course, what does this mean for the cattle industry?
Well, I think it's important for the cattle industry. The feed prices are significantly lower than they were 2 years ago. Some producers are deciding to do a forward contract for winter needs. I think it's a good idea if you can't afford higher prices, because I think there is some probability, at least 45 or 50%, that prices are going to go up from this point. And if you can't afford higher prices, I'd forward contract my at least winter needs, if not on into next spring.
And then what other factors in the market are you keeping an eye on, especially some of the global issues right now?
Well, if you look at the uncertainty in the market, of course, you've got the Ebola problem that the people are concerned about. You've got in the investments in commodities or securities, you've had $100 billion move out of commodities in the last 6 months to a year, and that's just out there looking for a place to go in, and that could have an impact on price. You've got China, their debt, that's for their manufacturers, for their individuals. You look at 2005, 90 cents worth of debt created, or a dollar's worth of debt created 90 cents worth of GDP. Now, last year, a dollar's worth of debt only increased GDP by 27 cents. That's the same as Japan in the early 90s before they had their collapse, and that was the US in 2007. So China's a big buyer, and they can sure affect prices.
Always great perspective. Kim Anderson, thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.
One of the more difficult questions that I've ever had to try to answer as an extension animal scientist here at Oklahoma State University was, what's the best cow to bull ratio that producers need to know as they're turning bulls in with cows in the upcoming breeding season? Well, there's been research that's looked at this through the years. Research from Colorado showed us that there's tremendous variability in bulls in their ability to seek out cows in estrus and get them bred. The rule of thumb that I like to use is to match the number of females with the bull in reference to his age. In other words, if he's a yearling bull, he was born last fall, and we're going to use him in this upcoming fall breeding season that starts in November and December. That young bull, being 12 to 14 months of age, that's about the maximum number of females that I would match him up with. Now, if he was a spring-born calf that was born a year and a half ago, that makes him about 18, maybe as much as 20 months of age at the start of the breeding season. So 15 to 18 cows is probably what I would recommend that we put with that young bull. Once we get to that 2-year-old, then we start to match him up with the more common recommendations that many producers use, and that's 1 bull to 20 to 25 cows. Mature bulls that we've had some experience with, we know what they've done in the past, They passed a breeding soundness exam. Now I think we can stretch that out just a little bit to 30, 35 cows and expect good results, especially in those situations, in large ranch situations where we have multiple sires in the same pasture, where if one bull's a little weak, another bull might cover up for his mistakes. I think if we'll stay with these pretty conservative cow-to-bull ratios, we'll have a better calf crop percentage, one that's born a little earlier in the calving season, therefore giving us more calves that are born early, that are going to wean a little heavier at calving time, and therefore really affect our bottom line. Hey, we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
Now for a little experiment, with the goal of getting young people enthused about science. This could be your typical classroom. Students in their seats, teachers at the front.
Okay, so y'all be ready. We're going to do a little math today. I just want you to know we're going to sneak it in on you.
All focused on an important assignment, but this setting's a bit different. These kids in Payne County are learning about and building rockets made of paper and PVC, propelled by air from a soda bottle, all part of the 4-H STEM educational philosophy.
Science, engineering, technology, and math is one of our 4-H mission mandates, and we're really trying to get kids into science and help them understand that it's not a scary thing, that it could be fun, and it's a way to build their skills in those areas.
For National Youth Science Day this year, 4-H partnered with NASA. They are building rockets, after all.
These types of activities help reinforce the students that it's an integrated world, and you have to draw on a lot of different tools to operate in the education community, as well as you go on to further careers. Any career you get into, you need these types of skills.
Once the rockets are put together and custom decorated, it's time to head outside for the testing phase.
We've offered this to all 77 counties, and we've done 3 trainings across the state where we had our county educators, some volunteers, and some school teachers come in, and we taught them how to do this activity and just introduced them to it. So today and throughout the month, kids will be doing this all over the state. But nationally, the idea is that today, on October 8th, that kids are launching rockets all across the nation. We open it up so it's throughout the month of October, but we literally have kids from New York to California launching rockets today.
A lot goes into this experiment and the follow-up evaluation. Just ask 10-year-old Emma Warney.
I was pretty sure it was going to go straight up, and I thought that my tip, since it was at an angle, it would try to go maybe a little farther that direction, which I was not very good at predicting where it would go. My hypothesis is not correct.
The best part of the day is watch the kids jump way high and try to stomp the heck out of that 2-liter bottle. And then the oohs and ahs from the rest of the group. When you get one that goes pretty high, a sense of accomplishment. And this group today did an excellent job of going back in the classroom and determining how high the rocket did fly.
They've just asked themselves more questions. What if I made the cone different? What if I made the fins different? What if I placed them different? And it gives them that chance to experiment.
Probably the number one thing is they're learning a little bit about the scientific method. They build their rocket, they redesign it, they launch it again. And that's the bottom line for the scientific method. Kind of a fun way to put it is they design it, they destroy it, they rebuild it, and they try it again. And if they learn that that's what science is about, and it's not about all the information they have to memorize in a book, to me that's the number one thing that they can get out of it. But other than that, I want them to have an understanding of there are careers related to this, not just at NASA and not just building rockets, but there are STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math careers that they are capable of doing. And the math is not that hard, so we did a little math in it today, which pushed them a little bit, but it showed them we can do the math, it can be done. And that there's whole career fields that are just begging for people to come and be engineers and be technologists. And that's the other thing I wanted to get out of this.
Just that exposure.
Yes.
And why is it important to spend a day or a month talking about STEM and talking about science?
Well, beyond just the kids, nationally there is a shortage of engineers, scientists, and technologists. And 4-H has taken it upon himself to introduce kids to these fields and to try to push kids into the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. And just to tie that in today, when NASA does go back to the moon and does go back to Mars, it'll happen someday, those kids that will be, those astronauts, they are kids in school today. So we could have one of our kids going to Mars someday, which I think would just be really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
You are welcome.
Joining us once again, Jody Campeacci, our Ag Policy Specialist here at Oklahoma State University. Jody, we're into October now. The Farm Bill deadlines are passed, and wheat's even mostly in the ground now. But there is still a lot to think about in terms of the Farm Bill and SUNUP.
Yeah, the Farm Bill commodity program, SUNUP is going to start in the next few months, but the first things the producers are going to have the opportunity to do is the base acreage and yield update. They still have some time, and I don't encourage anyone to run out right now and do it. I recommend that they wait a bit, but that update is going to take place, it starts now and it goes through February. So the main thing to keep in mind with that is it's actually the owner of the farm that will do the base and yield update. Some producers have a power of attorney so that they can actually sign for the owner. That was in place for the last Farm Bill. However, there was a box on that form that you had to check that said all current and future Farm Bill programs. If it doesn't say future Farm Bill programs, a producer would need to go back and get a new power of attorney in order to make decisions for this Farm Bill.
All right. Now, once they have those acres established, they have a decision to make them between PLC and ARC. Talk us through that a little bit more.
Okay. So producers with base acreage, and again, this was acreage that was established many years ago, producers can establish new base acres, are eligible for ARC or PLC. ARC is the Ag Risk Coverage Program, which is a revenue protection program. PLC is the Price Loss Coverage, which is a price protection program. So with those programs, the producer would have the option to make that election, and it's all producers with an interest in the land. So in many cases, if it's a share rent type of situation, the owner would also need to make the decision and sign the form.
All right. Now, for folks who are having a little difficulties kind of struggling through that and sorting through what the best answer is for them, y'all still having some meetings?
Yeah, we're having 20 meetings across the state going from now until into the middle of December. We'll have meetings with USDA, so there'll be the Farm Service Agency, the Risk Management Agency, NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service. I highly recommend producers come out and ask questions. We've been getting a lot of questions about owners, producers, and who has to sign and who makes the decisions. I highly recommend coming out and asking those questions at those meetings.
All right. Jody Campeacci, Ag Policy Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
Finally today, even though both of the state fairs have wound down for the year, a new showing season is about to get started again. And earlier this year, SUNUP's Dave Deacon learned what it takes to be a champ in the ring.
We've been clipping the cows and grooming them lately, and we give them a bath almost daily.
There's just something about young people and animals. We've found that the kids are very, they like it. They enjoy being pushed and motivated, and they're looking forward to it. And
they're working hard, and not a sponsor or a coach or an assistant doesn't have to monitor. They're there to help, but they're not there to tell them they're going to work harder. They're all sweating, they're all working hard, they're all concentrating.
I really only planned on doing it 1 year. And then the kids called that winter and said, some of the kids started calling, well, Coach, when are we going to do it again? Well, we're not going to do it again. February, we're going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. March, we're going to do it again. Okay, we'll do it one more time.
Young showmen have made their way to the Connors State College campus since the early 80s to learn how to fit cattle and sheep. Here, they hope to learn the skills to set themselves apart from others in the show ring.
I've got kids that don't have very good cattle that can show the hide off of one of them. They'll beat some old kid that's dragging in a big one and a good one. If the judge will actually look at what that kid's doing in showmanship, that kid will jerk your head off. He's pretty good.
But what you see there is a snapshot into what has been going on for 6 months to a year of work for that moment.
And there's more than just the mechanics of showing and trimming sheep and cattle. There's also some life lessons being taught here too.
He talks a lot about respect and like to keep your self-confidence up.
Too much is given, much is required. Coach McPeak demands a lot at this camp in a very respectful and appropriate way.
That is why Todd Lamb speaks to the youth. He's done it for the past couple of years.
Hard work in the summer.
Maybe not so much as the Lieutenant Governor of Oklahoma, but more as a person that believes in the message.
To take care of something greater than yourself, to serve something greater than yourself, a great life lesson. I said have confidence, work hard, have conviction, and be young people of men and women of character.
Good gosh, you've seen them run. They run every place they go. It's hot, and they sweat, and they get stepped on. Why would any person do that? Well, it's part of our deal to help them understand that they're willing to do more than other people do, so therefore they're successful. And if you'll transfer that over to math or English or whatever else you're doing, it still works.
When you did fit, it needs to be rinsed. You got about an hour.
But it's that work ethic and those life skills gained during that activity that we know pays huge dividends for our kids.
It'll help me so I can groom my cow myself. It'll just help me with showmanship and stuff because we've been doing a lot of showmanship.
The cattle and the sheep are simply a tool. I believe the attitude excels everything. I tell them it's more important than the house they live in or the car that their mom and daddy drive, the clothes they have. If you have a good attitude, you make it.
And it has worked for hundreds of young people over the last 3 decades, including my wife. I'm probably going to get in trouble for that photo. The confidence that they have when they load up and head out of Warner, Oklahoma will shine in the show ring and hopefully spill over into everything else that they do.
Nobody does it.
From Muskogee County, Oklahoma.
Okay, see how my hands are back here?
I'm Dave Deacon.
Keep his head straight and his ears.
That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime at sunup.okstate.edu and also follow us on YouTube and social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time at SUNUP.